Welcome back to another episode of Mindset Shift. Today, we're talking about one of the most powerful, misunderstood, and life-changing concepts in productivity, the 80-20 rule. Also known as the Pareto principle, it's the idea that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. Simple, right? But most people spend their entire careers doing the opposite, pouring 80% of their energy into tasks that only create 20% of their impact. So in this episode, we're not just breaking down what the 80-20 rule means, we're exploring how to live it. Because once you understand this principle deeply, you'll stop glorifying being busy and start focusing on what actually moves you forward. Let's begin. First, the mindset behind the 80-20 rule. Let's start here. Working hard is not the same as creating value. We've been conditioned to think productivity equals long hours, packed schedules, and constant motion. But activity isn't progress. Effort doesn't always equal impact. The 80-20 rule invites you to pause and ask, what few things create the biggest difference in my results, my relationships, and my growth? When you get this right, you shift from exhaustion to effectiveness, from busy to intentional. The truth is, not all work is created equal. Some of it moves the needle, some of it just fills the day. And the people who master the 80-20 mindset aren't those who do everything. They're the ones who choose what matters most. 2. Identifying your 20%, the work that truly matters. Let's make this practical. Take a blank page and draw 2 columns. Label one high impact, 20%, and the other low impact, 80%. Now ask yourself, what are the few activities that create most of my results? What tasks give me the biggest return on my time and energy? Which projects actually move my goals forward? For example, in sales, it might be a small percentage of clients that bring in most of your revenue. In leadership, it might be a handful of decisions that shape team success. In your career, it might be a few core skills that make you stand out. The 20% is rarely obvious at first. It hides under repetition, busyness, and habit. But once you find it, it changes everything. Here's your action step. List 3 things you do that create most of your results. Then ask, what if I doubled down on these? Because often the secret to success isn't doing more, it's doing more of what matters most. 3. The courage to let go of the 80%. Now comes the harder part. To focus on the 20%, you must have the courage to let go of the 80%. That means saying no to tasks that don't serve your core goals, delegating what doesn't require your unique strength, automating what can be systemized, and most importantly, releasing the guilt of not doing everything. Because for many professionals, the barrier to progress isn't lack of skill, it's lack of focus. We say yes to too much. We get trapped in meetings, reports, and routines that look productive but don't truly create progress. But remember, every yes to something meaningless is a no to something that matters. The 80-20 mindset isn't just about time management, it's about energy alignment. You don't have infinite capacity, so why spend it where it doesn't count? 4. Applying the 80-20 rule to your workday. Let's make it real. Here's how you can apply the 80-20 rule in your daily routine. Step 1. Audit your calendar. Look at the last 2 weeks. Which meetings, projects, or tasks actually contributed to your biggest results? Which ones drained you but didn't change outcomes? Step 2. Create a high-value time block. Set aside 1-2 hours daily for your most important 20% tasks. Uninterrupted, deep work. Protect it like it's sacred. Step 3. Batch or automate the rest. Emails, admin tasks, or reports. Handle them in blocks, not all day long. Don't let the small tasks hijack your focus. Step 4. Revisit weekly. Ask yourself, did I spend this week on what truly matters? If the answer is no, don't feel guilty. Just realign. Progress isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and adjustment. 5. The emotional side of working smarter. Let's talk about something deeper. Why working smarter often feels uncomfortable at first. When you stop equating busyness with worth, you start confronting silence. You'll have moments where you feel guilty for resting, doubtful for saying no, or uncertain because your schedule isn't packed. That's not laziness. That's detoxing from the addiction to busyness. Most of us are conditioned to prove our value through effort, not outcome. But here's the truth. Impact doesn't always look busy. Sometimes it looks quiet, intentional, and calm. You are not valuable because you're constantly exhausted. You're valuable because you make what matters move forward. So as you practice this principle, remind yourself, simplicity isn't weakness, it's wisdom. 6. Using 80-20 to redefine career growth. The 80-20 rule doesn't just apply to your tasks, it applies to your growth. Think about this. 80% of your professional advancement likely comes from 20% of your skills, habits, or relationships. So focus there. Ask yourself, which skills create the most leverage in my career? Which relationships open doors to growth and learning? Which habits truly improve my performance? Then invest deeply in those areas. Take a course that sharpens your top skill. Nurture relationships that stretch your thinking. Protect the routines that keep your energy strong. Growth doesn't always come from adding new things. Often it comes from mastering the few that matter. 7. The 80-20 rule for well-being. Let's go even further, because the 80-20 rule doesn't just change how you work, it changes how you live. Think about your well-being. What 20% of habits give you 80% of your energy, peace, or joy? It might be getting 7 hours of sleep, morning journaling, exercise, quiet moments of reflection, meaningful conversations. Small anchors that create big shifts. When life feels chaotic, come back to those. You don't need a massive overhaul. You just need to consistently nurture the few things that ground you. The 80-20 rule is a reminder that small things done with consistency often create the biggest transformation. 8. The mindset shift, from effort to impact. Here's the real transformation. You stop asking, how much did I do today? And start asking, did what I do today actually matter? The 80-20 rule isn't about working less, it's about working with purpose. When you focus on high-impact activities, you create space for creativity, strategy, and rest. And in that space, clarity grows, energy returns, progress accelerates. That's what it means to work smarter. 9. Putting it all together. Here's how you begin. Audit your time. Identify what truly creates results. Prioritize the 20%. Spend more time there intentionally. Eliminate or delegate the 80%. Protect your focus. Revisit weekly. Keep refining your balance. Honor your energy. Simplicity creates sustainability. Do this consistently and you'll start to see how much less you need to do to create far more than before. Final reflection. Working smarter isn't about shortcuts. It's about strategy. It's about clarity. It's about honoring the value of your time and your peace. The 80-20 rule reminds us that the difference between success and burnout isn't just effort, it's focus. So stop trying to do everything. Start focusing on what changes everything. You don't need to work harder to create impact. You need to work truer to what actually matters. If this episode helped you rethink how you work, take a moment to like, subscribe to Mindset Shift, and share it with someone who's ready to trade busyness for balance and exhaustion for impact. Because when you start living by the 80-20 rule, you don't just get more done, you get more of the right things done. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode of Mindset Shift.